philosophy begins, or inquiry begins with a sense of wonder. Why? What is this? Right? And Descartes says the same thing, that our first emotion is not pleasure or pain, but wow, what is going on? I mean, not that an infant has this kind of cognition about it, but there's on some level, you can see it in a baby's eyes, like,
right,
what is this? And I think what happens is our curiosity, our natural curiosity, or natural wonder, often gets squashed in various ways by the fact that we encounter pain so frequently, then we want to avoid it, that we think more about other things like, how can I manage my pleasure and pain, or how can I manage my difficulties in life, that we forget that initially that we find life just plain interesting, and that itself is a motive for being. What is this? And it's a never-ending search. It's a never-ending inquiry into what is this. And that's really what I love about philosophy. It's this never-ending inquiry into being. And it's not just is this never-ending inquiry, it's a way of inquiring that is, methodical, that makes me feel like I'm getting somewhere, that it's always satisfying my curiosity, but also fueling it. Because when you learn something, then you go, well, why is that? And you want to know more. And so you're constantly satisfied and dissatisfied over what you don't yet know. And so you're constantly driven forward.
Talking about philosophy and being a professor of philosophy, I'm sure you do encounter some students that aren't as curious as you would like them to be.
Of course.
What do you do exactly to try and persuade them to engage that part of their brain to become more curious?
Yeah. Let me go back a second because you asked about skepticism, and I just wanted to finish that thought.
Sure.
Skepticism, a lot of people think, is just, the sort of as a failure, as like a failure to believe in anything, or always maintaining a stance of doubt. And I think on one sense, like I mentioned, epistemic humility, that's important. But the thing about skepticism is not to maintain a sense of doubt, but to keep open to inquiry. And actually the word skeptic originally means to seek. To seek, not to stop believing or stop thinking, but to keep inquiring. Some of the ancients thought that skepticism was actually a way to live, because it would actually reduce anxiety.
Really?
Yeah. Because then you weren't always in tension about what is true, because if you just took the stand that, well, I don't know what is true, and I have to keep looking. And if I demand that something be true, then I'm always going to be unhappy, because if I look closely, I'll find out it's not true. On the other hand, it can be debilitating, because if you don't think that anything is true, then what are you going to do, right? So you have to take provisions. You have to say, well, I'm going to take this stand for a while and see how it goes, but be ready to revise your position. So anyway, so about your question about how do you get students to take, say, a philosophical attitude? That's hard. Some of them already have it, but what I try to do is awaken in them their curiosity about things and try to indicate, why is it that you need to know this? And to do that, you have to show them that what they currently think might be false. This is why often Socrates is a good way of introducing philosophy, because he takes a question like, what is piety? What is or holiness? And asks, what does it mean to be holy? And so then someone says, well, it means this. It means respecting the gods. then the question could be, well, do the gods need your respect? Why do they want you to respect them? And the point of this is to think about, why should I care about what it is to be holy? You should care because if you think that you ought to be holy, you ought to know what you're doing. You ought to know what you're talking about. Right? Let me give you maybe something else. If you think that it is right to give to famine relief, for example, why do you think that it is right? What are the reasons that we have to do such a thing? Why don't I just give to my friends or keep the money myself? Why should I be obliged to do that? People say, well, because it's just a nice thing to do. Well, my parents want me to do this. Well, these reasons aren't sufficient. We have to understand the reasons why we're doing things. And so if I can convince a student that they need to understand their reasons why they do something, you believe in God, why? What reasons do you have for that? I don't care if you believe in God or not. I care that you have reasons to do so. Because if you don't have reasons, you don't really have a belief. You've just taken it out of the air, adopted it.